Hello, hello. Hello, hello, everybody. How you folks doing? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending a little bit of your precious time here with me. I want you to know I very much appreciate it. I'm, of course, Big Cheds from Twitter. It's probably where you know me from. Cheds Trading on YouTube. This is part of the quick market update series. I do these usually 3 days a week, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, kind of a quick preliminary look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. And then I'd like to spend time just kind of talking to you and answering random questions and trying to create some value. I do teach professional technical analysis, classical charting, which is Western TA, and Japanese candlestick theory, which is Eastern TA. And I did CMT1, so I'm professionally trained. And I try to take complicated academic things and make them a little bit more simple for you. So please enjoy all the videos I have available for you. Start with the Masterclass tutorial playlist. We'll explain my moving averages, how I structure the chart, how I look for trading setups. And by the way, folks, I just published my fourth book, which is the Trading Journal. I'm super proud of it. Available on Amazon right now. Got a couple of reviews. I'm waiting for some more. And the idea of this book is essentially every time you have a losing trade, right? There's something left over. There's some value in terms of the lesson that remains. And so you should be journaling your trades. You should be trying to learn from them. And you should be building upon your experience and trying to get to the next level. So why you need to journal, and then what goes into the trading journal, how to structure it, all the different sections, different theses. I talk about a throwback, head and shoulders. I define them, how they fail, emotional management, good trader habits. And then I have a very nice series of sample trading journal entries going through the story of a trader, ups and downs, and then the blank entries as well. So, of course, since I published this fourth book, I'm making my third book free, The Trading Quote. So check out that playlist. Check out the free version of Trading Wisdom. Check out my free version of my book, my cancer memoir. And, of course, if you're looking for more in-depth full market analysis, that's Bitcoin Live, where I do a twice a week full market report with the best team in the world that studies crypto. These are for fun. I want to hear you folks. I can't hear your voice, but I want to see your messages. I want to see, let me know in the chat room how you're doing, if you want, how you found the channel, but, like trading questions. Oh, I'm dealing with this, Cheds. I've been having trouble with this. What do you think? And you can ask me like, can you look at this chart for me? Sure, I'll probably do that. Maybe I will. But I love the good trading question because the chances are someone else in the room, someone else listening and watching is having, similar problems, and I want to try to add value. So thank you folks for being here. Let's just go on Bitcoin for a while. And then I have some tweets. I want to kind of talk through this bottoming process that had happened. And we shall do that. So let's get right into it. So Bitcoin is at a very interesting spot. Yeah, we just had the death cross. Ooh, right, the 50-200. That doesn't really factor much into my analysis. I really just look at price versus key levels, and to simplify things, below 90K, above 72K. Been trading in this chop range and been kind of following the progression of the 4H or the 4-hour structure. 4 hours are very good trading time frame, and looking at there was a low set here with a sweep, potential low, higher low, higher low, higher low, lower high break, and then failure, right, and pushing back down. And we've had this you kind of see a trend of descending supply and kind of watching that for momentum. Price below the MH2 simple SMA or equally weighted 200, watching that for momentum. And I've generally, and if you follow, and I do these 3 days a week. And by the way, this is my last stream on YouTube for the rest of the month. I'm actually traveling for a little bit. So you can watch my old videos. And of course, you can catch me in Bitcoin Live. I do those when I'm on vacation, no matter what. But I've been talking about how it's been the momentum overhang from losing 90K, pushing us towards 72K, thinking we're almost definitely going there. And at the same time, watching MA50, the orange line, right? And how important that MA50 was to the move in the double top in 2021. And when we started to lose the 50, how momentum rolled over. And so, that kind of sets the table here for you, right? And so even while I've been expecting 72K, 72K, I'm still watching the charts all the time. And I noticed momentum was turning around here. So I had put out a tweet. I'm assuming we had some news, right? Because what happened was I started to notice that something was going on here. So you start to see these tweets here where I'm marking up the chart. I'm seeing a little bounce in the price, and I'm saying, okay, well, if Solana flips 120, later turned to 125 was my trigger. We'll go over that in a little bit. Ethereum kind of doing, Adam and Eve, XRP back above $2, big time momentum pivot. And then Bitcoin here, right? So started, with the 4H markup, marking up the chart, identifying the descending supply trend with the dual lows. These are called trough, right? In classical charting, the peak, circa roughly 81K. And so with the two-level filters is a very nice technique to avoid yourself getting faked out too much. So you have a trend line break. You can ride the trend line all the way down. If you wait for the two-level filter, which is going to be the lower high break, you can go with a little bit of confirmation with the trend. So I'm marking it up for you saying, check this out, folks. Price is at a key level. Something's going on. 4H markup. And then, H bar hasn't happened yet. I identified a trigger. I'm giving you trigger levels to watch for. All right. And then I'm assuming we had some news because the price was moving across the board. And I said, that's probably a bottom on that price action 3 days ago, probably a short to medium term bottom. And it's one of those things where, I've been super, super bearish, but I'm always ready to pivot, right? You know me, right? When I get new information, and your opinions should only be as strong as your ability to change them when you get new information. I had a tweet to that extent at some point in here. But what happened was two-level filter tests at the peak of the W, what I talked about. Now read the markup. Now we're at the two-level filter test. And then I indicated that Bitcoin long was triggering. So you triggered a long signal, okay? And you triggered the long signal, and here you go. Your opinions should only be as strong as your ability to change them when new information arises. We started to get new information. I indicated here in the night, bears need to rethink right now, Bitcoin bears, because something's going on. If you're sure it's going to 70 or 72K, you might want to recheck that thesis just because of that 4H momentum we saw here, right? So it definitely chopped around and kind of got a lot of people in trouble. I definitely thought I may have been faked out. Turned out it was the right call. All right. So what happened was price broke the peak of the W, came back below 81. So and I talked about it in Bitcoin Live where, the bull thesis, when I did my report, it was right around here. And I said, folks, I think the bottom is in for now. And I think we're going, I told them, I think we're going to 88.5. And that still remains my target. Right. And so this is went in that. I said, folks, I think we're going to 88.5. Watch 81K. If we lose 81K, I'll recheck the thesis. We lost 81K. But then the price regained that level. So it's the idea, and I talk about this a lot, where you can reinitiate a trade if your thesis is revalidated. And that bull thesis was reevaluated when 81K was recaptured. And we pushed higher. We're above the 4H MA200, lower high break. And it looks pretty good here in low time frame. I think it's a pretty clear run to 88.5. I still think that's the case. We shall see what happens in the meantime. But as it looks for it, so that was kind of I was walking through the 4H progression. Oh, by the way, I mentioned if you're looking for an exchange, folks, my favorite exchange is BingX. You can see the link. I knew I forgot to mention something. See the link in the description. What that suggests here is that we have a hold at the weekly MA50, which is really incredibly important. Really nice candle here forming. I don't know if we'll get the outside bar, which would be over the peak of the prior candle, completely, eclipsing the entire range. We shall see. But holding here at the MA50 is really what needs to happen for the price to continue higher with the trend, the high time frame trend, the MA200. What's interesting now, and you always want to do multi-time frame analysis, and I usually do 4-hour daily and weekly, the trend within the trend within the trend. If you've noticed, we have that 4H reversal. I marked it up for you with the 81K pivot. And the idea of the clean run to 88.5, you see that here illustrated by where price was rejected. It was interesting that you had a two-level filter rejection here last time. So on the daily chart, which is we're at right now, you have a well-described trend of falling supply. You can call it a trend line. It doesn't matter if you go to the wick or really the body, because as remember, this is a very important lesson, my friends. There's a filter around the trend line. And what you're doing when you draw, there's no line, there's only a trend. The line is describing a general trend of falling supply, more aggressive sellers. So you had been watching for a 2-level filter, and you can even extend this all the way up here. It's fine. You're looking for the lower high break. And in this case, that was right at 88.5. Price bounced into 88.5, nice short on that rejection. And now that the price has responded there, that level is even more important. So you've got this daily overhead. But what is interesting, among other things, there are a lot of things to talk about, is SMA 50. Rejected here, SMA 50. Rejected here, SMA 50. We're right back to SMA 50. Okay. Now you don't necessarily, moving average is an area of interest. So you're going to use a horizontal level as confluence to structure your risk, but it's worth noting for marking up the trend and for marking up volatility. Strength of the trend is, if the price can hold it. So if we can get a close above it, that would be very nice. And it's certainly you want to be aware of the prior rejections at the SMA 50. That being said, I don't think it will reject there because of the momentum here on the 4-hour, because in the accumulation's evident here with the big volume spikes and the green candles, the W with the fake out, now the higher low, price above 81K, price back above the 4H200, and I think really not much resistance locally, meaning nearby. When I say local, it means most recently, which is the most important in classical charting. I still think we have a clean run to 88.5. So through the series of tweets, I pointed out how even if you're bearish, and I was thinking we were going to 72K, I was watching, I'm always watching and saying to myself, where might my thesis fail? You always want to, doesn't matter how strong or convinced you are, how strongly you believe in your opinion, how convinced you are, you want to find a way to check your thesis. And I know I'm talking for a while, folks, and I'll get to the chat room in a second, but I was on watch for a reversal and we got it. And I'm now, positioned long. Again, my coverage has been long and I feel like I'm doing my duty. I take great responsibility in Bitcoin Live, especially, and on Twitter too. I'm trying to put out good, valuable information. You folks can't watch the chart all day. I kind of think I do that for you. So I still think we have a clean run on Bitcoin to 88.5. Ethereum is interesting. It's still weak to Bitcoin, but a little bit of relative strength today. And you can see that reflected here on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. Super weak. Maybe start to pay attention a little bit if it flips 0.02, but there's really no suggestion yet of any reversing of that trend. Ethereum looks much weaker, still has not broken its local, right, descending supply trend. You have the overhead level. If it can get to 1750, you might even initiate a short here. And then I see some great questions. I'll get to them in a second. You might even initiate a short with your risk well-defined. Maybe at 1800 would be your invalidation. So it's weak to Bitcoin. Bitcoin still looks much better, even with this little bit of relative strength today. Solana, you should be long again on a flip of 125. Even though I had stink bids or low ball bids at $45, I am always looking, again, I'm always looking for a way to challenge my thesis and to figure out, where might that change? Where might I go wrong again? By the way, look at that beautiful cover artwork. Come on, load it up. Look at that beautiful artwork on the cover. I love my artist. So here you go. Talked about that. Talked about the 4H and then Solana. And I let you know last night, this is last night, they adjusted the thesis over 125. Could trigger a long on a 2-level filter. I adjusted the thesis from 120, descending supply trend. And then you see here, especially on the 4H, prior lows confirmed as resistance, a break of that. Gives you reasonable cover to structure a long thesis that has triggered. So you should be long on Solana, and your stop loss is right around 120, 125. So that's my little riff. Let's get back in the chat room. What's up, Indy? Good to see you. Caveman Insight, Zachary, Joel, Dreamer, Rational Evidence, Sakak, Jawar, Rian, folks in chocolate. Hey, folks, thank you for showing up. You have other stuff to do. It's the weekend. But I love doing these. I can hit a couple buttons, go live, and hear from you. So let's see. Special occasion on Saturday, says Rian. Not really. I've actually streamed pretty much every Saturday since November. If you go to my quick market updates, this is in there. And I've been trying to be much more active. You can see that, right? I'm streaming quite a bit. But here's the thing. These are optional, right? I can and I will skip YouTube videos because, they're optional. Bitcoin Live, I haven't missed an update in 7 years, right? So, like I said, I'm traveling. It's not a special up day because it's just a Saturday, but this will be my last stream for a few weeks. So thank you for being here, and I really appreciate it. Yash says, hey, Cheds, you're awesome. I love to hear how you're able to, I love how you're able to pivot and admit wrong as you have new information. Yes. Unlike so many others in crypto, Twitter will double down and deny they ever claimed something. Yeah, I've never understood why people delete tweets. If you followed me, you'll know that one of my favorite things to do is say bad call. I made a bad call. If you search from Big Cheds, bad call. I like, and people love it. It's almost like better than making a good call. If you say, hey, look, I made a bad call, people are like, oh, wow, you're so humble. I'm actually really not humble. My ego is a big problem, but I try to check it. You have to, and I've learned from the masters, like Peter Brand, John Bollinger, everyone else, like your opinion should only be as strong as your ability to change them when you get new information. That's what trading is all about. If you remember, if you've been with me for a while, thank you. If you remember, from about 43K, I said, folks, we're going to 12K. I said this back in March, April 2022. I was castigated, and which is fine, but we got really close to it. And even down here, I noticed sentiment bottom, but I didn't see a price bottom. I'm still thinking 12K. But what did I do? I got long 18.5. And I announced it on Twitter. I'm going long. So even though I was waiting for, 12K, hey, I got to take a long here. Things have changed. Price structures changed. And you rode that with me nicely from 18K to 90K, where I said basically risk off when we lost 90K. And now I've jumped back on at 81K. So twists and turns. I will go over all of this in the next masterclass. Great comment. Thank you. Sakalk says, thank you for your continuous support. You appreciate it. Can you please, when you have a minute, look at DGB daily? I haven't looked at Digibyte in forever. DGB. Nobody's mentioned it. So that's interesting. It's on Binance. Okay. And this was requested daily and weekly. Yikes. Doesn't look good. Not a lot of history. Maybe there's an exchange with more volume too, because this looks weird with all these wicks. So like Kraken or something with a little more history. Maybe the OKX. Let's try one of even CoinX. I just want to get a little bit of history. Nothing. Okay, this is what we're looking for. So Digibyte, there's not much of a trend here, right? You see the trend. What is the trend in classical charting? It's the MA200. It's flat. It's sideways. There isn't really enough, for me, I'm a trader, right? I don't believe in the technology. I don't really even think it exists. These are vehicles for speculation. And so I want a clean trend. And as a general principle, if you want to be long in something, call this the MA200, you want it to be an uptrend that just dipped to support, right? The whole idea of you want to take advantage of a move against the trend. There's no real trend here, so there's no real trade. That's my opinion on the daily. We can take a look at the weekly. Not much going on either. It's kind of it's a downtrend. Even though it's flat locally, you see the MA200 weekly falling down. I don't like this chart. I don't think you should be in this. I'd rather be in stable coins, right? For example, than being in this. And no traders like looking at this and like, ooh, I can't wait to get into it. So I just don't like the chart for that reason. DYOR says, DYOR Dale says, Cheds, do you view price action over the weekend with the same significance as price action during the week? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sure, it's a caveat, a little bit of a caveat. But I mean, I've traded enough. I've been trading Bitcoin weekends, since 2017, which is 8 years. And sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's exciting. In general, you really just need to, and you can look, and you should always be aware of equities. And maybe my bottom call in Bitcoin was helped by the sense that equities had bottomed. But you're really just looking on the four corners of the chart, what you see in Bitcoin. And I don't really look at this and say, okay, I'm going to ignore these whatever candles because it's weekend. No. I just want to know, is there price interaction with a key level? What's the momentum? What's my risk? Is there an opportunity? Is there volatility? What can I do with what's here? If there's nothing, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to give myself something to work with. So I don't take the weekends off. Weekends, weekday for me, I'm always on it. I'm always, as you know, I'm always looking at the chart. So the answer is no, I don't look at it differently. Larry says on the Wayne Gretzky of TA. Last time it was Randy Moss. Thank you, Larry. Cliff says, happy Saturday. What's up, Cliff? Do you think that Bitcoin broke the orange line? Do you mean the MA50? We don't know. It's testing it right now. And I talked a little bit earlier, but I don't know that it's that that important quite yet. You also had the confluence of the upper Bollinger. Last time it tested the 50, it was a move into the upper Bollinger in a corrective state. This still has plenty of room to the upper BB. I still think it's a pretty clean run to 88.5. That was my read back on Wednesday. I'm going to stick with that until I get more information. What's up, Peter? Says, hey, buddy. Cliff says, hey, what's up, Cliff? He says, looks like the two is the bottom for XRP. Yeah, and I covered it. I indicated that bulls can view this as a deviation, a fake out below the key level, local support of $2. You can restructure your risk on the capture of $2. It's back up above it. Is it the bottom? The bottom, right? Who knows if it's the bottom? It is an uptrend. It's priced above a rising MA200. I'd much rather be a bull than a bear is how I would answer that. Peter says, read Ched's books. Thank you, brother. Any interest in INJ? I don't. I know it's a really bad chart. I've been telling people to sell since 31, but I'll look at it for you. Wow, $8. Oh, this is terrible. Yeah, why are we looking at INJ? It's a really, really bad chart. Look at this nice controlled downtrend. Really weak, nice short here on the up thrust or failed flip of 31. And even on this breakdown here. This is a really bad chart, so I would avoid it. Don't like it. Unless you're a bear, maybe you target, if it gets a bounce, you can, I would target this next bounce, whenever it may be. Even here, you could be shorting on these lows. You could be shorting here. Again, it's a downtrend, so you want to short it if it bounces, right? You do not want to try to be a bottom fishing trader. You do not want to be the trader. Let me try that again. You do not want to be the kind of trader who is orienting yourself. Let me find a bottom. You're going to annihilate your account. Trends tend to continue, right? Like, for example, oversold, right, is a sell signal, not a buy signal. Oversold meaning like below 30 RSI. The biggest price drops come when it's already oversold. You want to follow a trend. Don't play this if you're thinking long. If you're thinking short, it's fine to watch because if it bounces, it might give you an opportunity, okay? I saw my wife yelling, but not at me. She's yelling at someone else. This time, she wasn't yelling at me. Thomas says, appreciate your content. I appreciate you, Thomas. Anybody who shows up, especially if you leave a comment, I thank you for that. I have a question. Okay, this is good. Psychology question. I have a question. How to avoid bear market momentum PTSD when things become bullish again to avoid missing opportunities? This is a great call. You have to, you want to know how to do that? Trading journal. Use a trading journal, and you can kind of walk yourself through each trade, and this will teach you how to define every trade idea. So every time you enter, it needs to be based on an idea you can defend, you can define. I'm long SOL because it's PTSD, but you should take a long on 125, right? Because the price gave you a very clear level to structure your risk. And if it doesn't hold, maybe your stop loss a little bit lower, like at about 120. So you manage your risk nearby. How do you avoid bear market PTSD? By treating each trade individually, by respecting your money, such that every time you're risking money, you have a well-defined idea, and you know when your idea fails. If you enter a trade, for example, and I talk about this in Trading Journal, I talk about Trading Wisdom about emotional management. If you enter a trade and you're feeling uncomfortable, you probably have too much money. Try a smaller position, scale it down. If you're feeling emotionally compromised and overwhelmed, take a break, step away, walk away. Let yourself recover, and then maybe go read a textbook, add some skills, and add confidence, because if you don't have any confidence, you have nothing. So if you have PTSD, I'd say do nothing, right? I would say avoid until you're ready. You have to learn to love again, right? It's one of those things, your broken heart, you got to come back. You got to try again, right? Come back once you've shed the emotional baggage. It really helps to write about it in a trading journal. I'm not just plugging my book. I'm telling you, it's a great way. Because writing a journal and using a journal, you start to be more aware of your emotions, your feelings, what you're thinking, your methodology. So be more precise, respect yourself, respect your money, and define each trade idea, and try with a little bit of a smaller position, all right? I think it'll work out just fine for you. Okay, I'm having problems. I'm exiting the Turbo meme coin, says Zachary. Turbo's a ticker. Somebody asked me about that on Twitter. I'm like, I've never heard of Turbo. If it's a meme coin, it probably has very little price history. I don't know how much I can do. All right, this is a terrible chart. You might be looking for a short here, actually. This is a strong bounce into the DMA 200, which is the 4H MA 200. I'm gonna go to the daily in a second, but price is rejected here. Let me try that one more time. Price is rejected. Price is rejected there. You're bouncing essentially into, lost support. It's a pretty good little short setup. Okay. Check out the daily chart. Yeah. I mean, this is like, look, do not like, this is not a chart I would ever look at and think I want to go long. I'd say, all right, I could see shorting here, but maybe the best short would be if it gets a little bit higher. If this can get up to maybe 0026 roughly, it would be a great little short, okay? It's a down. Remember, you want to orient yourself to be trading with the trend, okay? And I might go a little bit longer in the stream today since the last one for a few weeks. You want to orient yourself to be going with the trend. So if it's a downtrend, I want this to bounce a little bit so I can short it. Your question was, it sold early and then it took off. Now 28.7. Great. Go play an uptrend. Like, do you really look at this and feel FOMO, Zachary? I mean, be honest. I cannot fathom. And it's not even like strong volume in the bounce. I literally cannot fathom looking at this and thinking FOMO. I'm like, I see this. I'm like, my first reaction is I'm disgusted because it's a downtrend. I hate downtrends, right? I like strong trends. Brother, go play something good. Like, you should never feel FOMO on a bad chart that just bounced a little bit. It's a bad chart. So you need to get better confidence and better skills to identify charts and to know what the trend is so you don't feel FOMO. You know what I'm saying, Zach? Indy says top tier echelon. Thank you, brother. How do you take CME gaps into account, says Crypto Caveman. You know what I do? I really just don't care. I've never once in certainly Bitcoin in 8 years, even, I don't think I've ever tweeted about it because I literally don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. Sometimes it fills, sometimes they don't. It doesn't matter. They don't matter. People who are thinking they must fill, they must this. These are shortcut traders. Traders looking for shortcuts. They're looking for correlations. That's not going to work. It's too complicated. Simplify your method. Price in relationship to moving averages. More importantly, in relationship to major price levels of the chart. This is a continuous chart. It's 24/7. I look at it all day. I look at it at night. I look at it when I wake up. I send out tweets to you folks. I literally don't care about CME gap. It means nothing to me. All right. Let's continue on. Great question. 50 MA is still not broken. Yep, not broken yet. I may not get to all your questions and comments, but I'm going to try to. A CRV confirmed reversal. Take a little look at the curve finance. Oops, I actually did have it on the list. All right, what do we think here? Yeah, I mean, starting to bottom here, and you can definitely be, I would say, edge bulls here above 60 cents. Yeah, what is the question? The question is confirmed reversal. Well, confirmed. What does confirmed mean? That depends on your risk style. You can confirm on a 15-minute chart. You could confirm with 3 15-minute candles. You could confirm with 1 4-hour or 2 3 4-hour candles. Could be a daily close. Could be a weekly close. Could be a percentage move away from the price level. So when people say, like, is it confirmed? How does it confirm? Right? That's like a moving target, and that's user choice. So for me, I just want to see the price hold, maybe 59 cents, 58.5, 59 cents generally. Is it confirmed or not? You have to decide if it's confirmed based on your risk style. All right, someone asked about the weekend. I already covered that. Covered CRV. Dreamer, what's up, Dreamer? If Bitcoin goes back 72K now, would you consider, this is what I don't like, and I appreciate you. Would you consider that the bull market is over? I don't like the bull market, these narratives. I will say, I'll try to answer it this way. If Bitcoin starts to close below the MA50, that would suggest to me that we're due for a deeper consolidation and maybe even going to tag like the weekly 200 or something and maybe go to like 50K or something, right? Yeah, I want to see it hold 72K. And that's important to hold. If it gets here, I don't know that it will because we just put a nice little reversal. If it tags the top of the range, I want to see it bounce. I don't want to see it inside the range because then we can test the bottom of the range, right? But my line in the sand will continue to be holding the weekly MA50, and I'm going to continue to watch that. So I don't really think it's super helpful to talk about the bear market, the bull market, because show me a narrative doesn't have a price level necessarily. A narrative is not a moving average. Technically, yes, right? Because you want to see it above a rising MA200 to be a confirmed uptrend. I mean, you can define a trend, but this is narrative, the bull market, bear market. I'd actually think you kind of don't want to think like that. You want to try to unprogram yourself to think in terms of that. Trade by trade, chart by chart, and play it that way, all right? Indy says, Arbrick's great. Thank you. Turtles Forever. Okay, sure. Turtles Forever says, do you think SUI has long-term support? Has it hit long-term support? Well, let's go to the daily chart. Yeah, I mean, I don't like how it's below the 200, but it's got some history here. It's got some support. Bulls have stepped in, and as Steve Nissen would say, bulls rejected lower prices in that $2 range. So I've been watching the $2 range in my coverage in Bitcoin Live. That continues to be the zone or the area of interest. Did it hit long-term support? Yes. Has it definitely held here? Maybe. We need to see a little bit more juice here on SUI. You could certainly be dropping to a lower time frame, and you could say, all right, we're back up above really 225, which for me, I'm saying some individual making this argument, we're back up above lost support where the price had previously rejected. So for momentum, you really would want to see it hold there at 225. In the higher time frame on the daily, I'm a little bit more skeptical due to the price relationship to the, MA200. I would want to see a little bit more, and certainly recapturing 280, 285 level would be a really nice move for the bulls. Great question. Let's see. Starting to use Heikin-Ashi to clear the noise, says Turtle. Yeah. People use Heikin-Ashi. Heikin-Ashi means even bar. In Japanese, or at least in, no. Here, Heikin-Ashi. What am I doing wrong here? Bars? Nope. Candlesticks. Maybe I'm not finding it. Here we go. Heikin-Ashi means even bar. And it's just a way to kind of minimize the noise. And this kind of gives you a sense of a trend. I don't know that you can really trade using Heikin-Ashi. I think it's somewhat interesting. I have never found a way, to incorporate Heikin-Ashi into my style. Again, Heikin-Ashi means even bar, whatever that means. You can look it up. Some people like it. I just like the OHLC open, high, low, close candle. Nice and easy. It works great for candlestick theory, Bollinger Bands. Andre Cheds says, my question would be how to spot if an altcoin might top before some major resistance. Okay. And losing momentum. Great question, Andre. So, how do you spot it? You make sure you've gone to my YouTube, Cheds Trading. You've watched the Masterclass technical analysis tutorials. This is just wonderful information. I go through everything: volume, moving averages, strengthening of a trend, weakening of a trend, how to define your risk, how to set up a trade. You got to watch these. This will answer your question. This actually will answer most of the questions people ask me. What you really want to pay attention to, for example, like INJ we just looked at, you really want to pay attention when you see something like this. So INJ topped off here, okay? What was included? It was topping off up thrust. You got this at Bitcoin 64K, 69K, right? Almost very similar there. And you have the two peaks, you have the trough, you have price distance. So there's your up thrust. That's a big time suggestion of weakening, okay? And then you have a loss of support, and then you have the bounce into support and the rejection. That's another sign. It's called a pullback in classical charting. That's another suggestion of weakening trend. And then this is what you really, really want to pay attention to. You had another up thrust. You had a failed attempt to rejoin what at that time was a high time frame uptrend. So here you had a million different warning signs such that you should never, ever have bought up here and still be holding down here. There's literally no excuse. You're being irresponsible. You are disrespecting your money. And in that sense, I think disrespecting yourself. So how do you spot it? The Masterclass. And then here are some examples. And very simply, it's just, breaking a level and failure to hold. You just really follow momentum. Let's see. BingX is great. Paulette Ask, definitely. I've had a relationship with them for 3 years. They're very nice people, and they've always treated, whatever my signups that treated them well. I like them and I trust them. Cheds, how do you see BNB? Do you think it will touch 650? So BNB is really interesting. BNB is kind of a bellwether for altcoins writ large or overall. And generally, when BNB is strong, altcoins are strong, the market is healthy. And I've wanted to see it balance and continue with the trend again, which is MA200. It has been faltering though. Inability to hold 600. Chopping bound to the 500s. What is your question? The question is going to be, how do I see it? Do I think it will touch 650? Do I think it will touch 650? Do I think, I don't know. It's got to break 640. I don't know why you say 650. I mean, 640 is pretty clearly where the price has rejected previously. So you're watching here. I think it does have a pretty clear shot to 635, 640. So it's pushing higher in the short time frame. Weekly still looks really good, by the way. I mean, look at this beautiful, beautiful weekly chart. Super gorgeous. It probably will continue higher long term. But given this high time frame structure, you start to lose these lows. That'd be a pretty big warning sign that we might drop to like 350, like if it loses 500, 520. So it's a little bit tenuous right now, and it has been chopping around. But I am generally still bullish on it. And part of that may be my bias in that I want to see it be bullish. I want to see it grind higher. So let's see. A bunch of more questions. I don't know if I can get through all of them. Let me just scroll around a little bit. Let me see here. Just great questions, folks, and thank you. And if I don't get to your questions, I'm trying next time. I do apologize. What do you think of H-bar? Bad chart. I talked about H-bar. Definitely momentum breakdown, and it really should have held higher, and it did not. However, I have marked out a level at which I'd be wanting to take a long again, and I did tweet it out for you, my friends, my followers, my people. I did tweet out H-bar couple few days ago, as they say, and I basically said, oh, here you go, letting people know. I want to get the word that we back up, right? When we went from the wire, Idris Ilba, Stringer Bell, recapture 81K. I put out H-bar tweet. I basically said, here we go. Recapture 18.5 could trigger long. And I saw that because the price was bouncing into that level. And when you see this type of tweet from me, I'm actually giving you two scenarios. I'm giving you a potential short if the price gets to that level, because it would be price interaction with the key level. You also have the ability to go long when it flips. And as a trader, all you really want, all right, is price interaction with the key level. So if it flips 18.5, I could see a long. I'm not super excited with it. It is in a falling channel, lower highs, lower lows. But if it can regain 18.5, I think you should pay attention. Kind of like Solana, getting back up above 125. So that is something to pay attention to. Folks, this is part of the quick market update series on my YouTube channel at Cheds Trading. I do these Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. I'm going on vacation. And so you'll have to catch me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting here and there, but definitely Bitcoin Live twice a week. I do a full market report, not just, like a casual report. I do the whole market every Wednesday, Sunday night with the best team in the world that studies crypto. You know me from Twitter at Big Cheds. If you're looking for an exchange, check out BingX. And I have just published my latest book, The Trading Journal. I'm waiting for folks. I need some more reviews. Good, bad, and ugly. Tell me what you think. This is a book that gives you a roadmap of how to survive the trading experience, why you need a journal, what goes in it, how to identify trade setups, when those trade setups fail, how to manage FOMO, how to manage your anger, right? How to manage feeling greedy and excited, emotional mindfulness, emotional management, good trader habits, trading wisdom part 2. Because I just published this book, I like to make my stuff free. Trading quotes. I've got a free version coming out. I've already done, decent part of it. I've already got a decent, let me do that. Already got a decent part. Let's close that. Whatever, deal with that later. So I've already got a decent amount of that. And so continue to check that out. Check out the free version of Trading Wisdom, my battles with cancer. And those are all available on Amazon, of course. But folks, I want you to know I had a lot of fun today. It's 40 minutes. I've gone a little bit longer than normal, but I really, really do enjoy. I really do enjoy when you join these streams and you give me questions and you help me create content. More importantly, help me create value. I want to create value for everybody. So thank you. There we go. Thank you. That was a little bit early in Church of Eight Wheels. Thank you for letting me do that. Real quick on Bitcoin, we are watching the 4-hour progression. Originally, I was waiting for 72K, but we saw some price structure. We being me, I saw some price structure suggesting that bulls were making an advance. Long trigger on the flip of 81K rather. I think we have a pretty clear run to 88.5. We shall see. We shall take it from there. But going forward, and certainly this next month, you're not going to, I won't be on YouTube till beginning of May. Keep an eye on the weekly 50. That's going to be really important. We want to see that weekly 50 continue to hold, and that should be your load star. That should be your guiding star. And I guess we'll leave it at that. So, folks, thank you. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Big Cheds out. And by the way, sorry if I didn't get to all your requests, folks. Thank you again. Big Cheds out.